In favour, please say aye. Against, carried. So nothing in the public forum, but we have received a petition which I've just passed out to you from some members of the public, Shirley Wolfenden and Jan Cameron, in regard to proposed no stopping restrictions, and that was in the Timaru Herald. I think it was this morning or online last night. So I might just ask Susie Radahi just to pop up, and there is a copy there as well, Susie, actually, if you need it. Oh, you've got it, perfect, thank you. And just fill us in on this. And obviously it's a Waka Kotahi issue, but it's been bought, and so we need to table it. So I'll pass to you. Thanks, Susie.
Yes, good afternoon, councillors, and thank you, Your Worship. So yes, this is being a project led by Waka Kotahi. As you'll be aware, the congestion issues through State Highway 1 through Timaru have been long-standing. So when an opportunity comes up for remarking of the road when they're doing new pavement works, which they are doing in that section at the moment, they tend to want to increase the two-lane of traffic heading north. So that's what this proposal is to do, is to connect from Pringle Street, where we've got that short section of single lane, before you then head up to Waimatatai Street, where there is the 2 lanes again. So yes, it does result in removal of on-street parking. And so Waka Kotahi have gone to the affected residents and have written to them. And then I suppose you're now seeing the objection to that coming through from those residents living in that area. Should be noted that there are no current or future on the horizon plans to do any further bypassing of State Highway 1 through Timaru, and also aware of the needs of the port to make sure there's efficient travel from the port out to Washdyke and further north. So not necessarily an ideal situation for those living in that area, but it does have an impact on a far greater number of people travelling through the area. So historically, council have been supportive of increasing the number of lanes through State Highway in that area for that freight and travel efficiency.
Thanks, Susie. I know you've only just had the opportunity to read through now, but is there any questions in regard to that for Susie? So we just need to, we'll receive a note of the petition in a moment, but happy to field any questions if there is any. Yeah, Councillor Parker.
Thanks, Susie. So pedestrian impact, please. I know there's lights down beside Newman's Hill. They're not looking at any other pedestrian crossing at all until we get out to the showgrounds. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So at the moment there is that only the provision at Newman's, and then again at the showgrounds development at Grants Road. So there is a gap there. Adding another lane for a short section, whether or not that makes it more complicated to cross through there. We've already got community severance in that area. One of the issues that sits on our list with our regular catch-ups with the Waka Kotahi team is looking what could be done to improve connectivity for pedestrians across, near Waimatatai, near the dairy, etc. But at this stage, there are no plans to increase the number of traffic lights or pedestrian phase lights through that area.
And will there be parking on the other side of the road, or is that going to be double laned as well, opposite? So we're heading north. That's what they're proposing. So heading down.
Yeah. So no changes to the other side of the road. Parking on the other side of the road available. But again, I suppose it comes to those people that live across the road having to get across and needing to walk down to Newman's to get a safe break in traffic to then get across and walk back up to their property. I mean, there are options, but it potentially does increase severance. Should be noted that those properties do have off-street access, can be a bit more difficult. We had similar, it was before my time being here, but had similar when the work was done at Te Weka Street intersection as well, where car parking was taken away, and there were some automatic garage door openers and those kinds of things added through that project. I'm not sure if that's a possibility or would work with the size of garages that have got there, but yeah, there have been previous issues and previous cases of where the parking has been taken away and the 2-laning has been increased.
Thank you.
I just see, Susie, that the bus stop's complicated in it. Would that just get moved to one of the side roads, would it?
Yes, I suppose that's the benefit of the My Way service, is that, we can have virtual stops pretty much anywhere, any car park that's, not currently taken. So yes, it would just be a case of there would be a virtual stop created somewhere in the vicinity that would create accessibility for the My Way service.
Councillor Booth.
Just wondering if there's been any consideration for an alternative route for the future, considering the traffic numbers are just continually increasing on that route. It's not really appropriate that heavy traffic's going through the centre of our town. Has there been any thought, or has Waka Kotahi done any work in the past around alternative routes, key routes for Timaru?
No, so I'm not aware of any work that's been done in the past or any work that's planned in the near future for that. We have spoken with them about the need for increased freight efficiency in that area, from feedback that we've had through port operators as well. But at this stage, we haven't featured in any government policy statement out of either governments in regards to looking at that corridor from Timaru through to Christchurch. We have the submission that Timaru District Council provided on the draft GPS did include looking at the corridor from Timaru Port to Christchurch, because the original draft GPS, which will now be changing, it indicated that there would be a look from Ashburton up through to Christchurch, and also the RTC, Regional Transport Committee, also indicated that we'd like to look at it from Timaru right up through to Amberley. So at the moment, no, there isn't. There has been push locally for that to happen, but unfortunately, council and officers don't have control of the state highways, but we push hard.
Councillor Burt.
Just onto your point, Councillor Booth, it's obvious that that little area there is, because of the amount of traffic, squeezes everyone into single lanes and then throws them back out, and it upsets all the continuity, especially with those big trucks and everything. But the key here is that on the side at which they're talking about, the safety of those people, they can't just pull into a normal drive. If you've got a steep drive, you can't just park and leave it at the bottom. You've got to try and get up to the top. You have visitors, they can't leave them on the drive. So there's a lot of issues there, and that does impact on the values to those properties and things. So even though it's a necessity from a bigger picture, it's going to have some far-reaching effects on those property owners. And by virtue, and I'm pretty right here, I think, if you correct me if I'm wrong, there's no way that you can put those crossings where they have an island in the middle where you watch a whole lot of traffic go past when it's double laned. It's only on state highways where it drops to a single lane, I'm pretty sure.
Are you speaking about the pedestrian refuges? Yeah. Haven't seen them installed in that in the past. It would be hard. And that section is quite a short section. Noted about the safety concerns. There is potential that we could look at, with Waka Kotahi, look at controlling access in and out of the side streets. So you have more left in, left out only. But at the moment, that's not included in the program. So that could be looked at for the likes of Luxmore, Pringle, etc., through there, and controlling some of those traffic movements. So there's less conflict. But yeah, take your points on board. It's always that balance of keeping as many people happy as we possibly can, isn't it?
Councillor Shannon.
Thank you. When Waka Kotahi come up with obviously the proposal here, do they also go through the process of considering other things like clearways between certain times and the likes? Do you know if they did that as well? Some of the busiest cities I've seen up in Wellington, for example, that at the time that the traffic is heaviest, you can't park there, but overnight you can. Did they consider those things as well?
It's certainly not their first option. It is something that could come away, and we could ask them to have a look at that. Just noting, though, that the traffic demand, where some of those clearways would be just in those peak commuting hours, whereas that bit of highway would be you know, kind of all daylight hours where it's really is those congested times, so it's probably a little bit different. Can't guarantee that they would, but that could be something that, could be looked into.
Anyone else? No, that's all good. So we just need to receive a note. I'll move that. Can I have a seconder for that? Councillor Burt, put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thanks, Susie. Appreciate that. Here we go. I'll give you a copy of that too. Urgent business now. I've just got one item that we need to consider.